I'm back. It's the next day. As you'll, if you've watched the first video, because this is like in a whole playlist, there's like some symbols I'm not explaining because I went more into depth on them in a different video. Editing, coming in to say a couple of things. It's been like months. I filmed that probably in like May, April, and it's August. But first of all, I would not recommend watching the other video because it's just like, okay, I didn't do like a bad job. It's just that, I don't know, you can't really like see me for some of it.
Yikes.
It's not that bad. I just feel like the angle is really annoying. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend watching it. Oh, I was also gonna say that I said I was gonna like upload these like on alternating days, but now I'm gonna try to shoot for, because I scheduled the first video in advance. Now I'm gonna try to shoot for uploading them once a week. And if you don't feel like watching the other video because it's bad, then I kind of like explain what I'm talking about a bit. It's just not in detail. But if you saw the first video, which literally I'm not finished editing it yet, and because I haven't added some of the last clip yet, and it's already 30 minutes long. Probably gonna be like an hour long, but you'll see that like sometimes when I do the me editing clips, I am in a completely different outfit each time. Yeah, I've been filming this through a few days, but next video, or yeah, next thing. So in the last video, I proved that Jack is like a symbol of spreading sin, or it's at least plausible to theorize about him being that. And the one before, I laid out the main concepts, which is war is because of sin, but is blamed on other things. Everything in the book is just a manifestation of them wanting to sin. I mean, yeah. And the book is about how everyone has sin inside of them. And that's, yeah, that's why war happens. And then this one, I'm going to prove the pigs are temptation and the beast is the sin in all of us. Shouldn't be hard. He literally says so himself. Snake was general evil. Lord of the Flies equals Beelzebub, which I actually don't have notes for that, so I'm gonna just be freestyling. Hopefully that goes well. We'll see. Oh, also, by the way, hopefully the lighting isn't super atrocious. Usually I try to film in the day, but my phone was on like 10%. And then, yeah, that was like an hour ago, and I charged it because I don't know how long this video is going to be, so I charged it a lot. Sun is down, so hopefully you can hear me okay. I think I remember seeing when I was editing that the audio is just better when I hold the microphone like really close to my mouth, so I might just do that. I'm also going to prove that P is intellect. Shouldn't be hard. If you took high school English, you should be convinced by now. The older kids are authority. Simon is like a Jesus type figure. I have a lot of notes. I found it. Yeah, like I said in the last video, some of these proofs are really short. For the pig being temptation, I feel like they're just really tempted to eat the pig. Every single person gives into eating the pig. I think Piggy is the only one that doesn't give in to any kind of hunting, unless, you know, they're a character that died before they started hunting and stuff, or they're just not one of the kids, like the soldier at the end. Yeah, even Ralph gives into hunting. Simon might not have, but even Maurice and Roger, featuring my movie wall, that's pretty small, but anyways, I confused Roger and Robert a lot. I think I said this in a like me editing clip in the first video, but I confused them a lot, but I also threw out my notes, so I don't have them, so I can't see like who I was specifically referring to unless I say like on page blank, because I'm not gonna like search through a bunch of pages to find like what I might be talking about. So if I'm like editing and I'm like confused as to who I'm referring to, or I know I got it wrong, then I'll just cut it out. They give into hunting. I mean, Roger is like believable, but I'll go into why they're like special characters that need to be distinguished later in a different video. The playlist link will be in the bio or the description box. But yeah, anyways, regardless of whether or not they hunted, every single person gives into eating pig. This is important because I saw someone point out, I'll link them in the description box. I'm also just gonna like try to put a screenshot of the video like in the side. Okay, I don't know why I'm yawning so much, but yeah, this is important because they literally can't resist the pig, and here's why. Here's what someone said in the video. In the scene where Jack was busy hunting and so he missed the boat, Ralph, yells at him for that and chastises him for it, and then he eats the pig. And they basically pointed out that you can't yell at someone for doing something and then engage in it. Like, you can't yell at your child for drawing on the wall and then do something that kind of congratulates the behavior. It's clear that they like can't help not eating pig. I mean, just the fact that they literally join Jack just to like Jack's side, and it seems to be just because of pig. And the fact that even when Jack has literally stole away most, like, I think everyone in that scene where he ran off on his own because no one voted for him to be chief the second time, just the fact that Ralph and Piggy both went over and ate pig after that, and that the people had walked over to where Jack was, not because he was a better leader, but because he hunts, just shows that it's hard for them to resist pig. I mean, whether it's because, clearly it's not because there's no food on the island, there's fruit, but whether it's because they like need meat or not, we can look at the surface level or like what's literally happening, but it's an allegory, so everything is a symbol, and so it's interesting to think about everything as such. And then also just the fact that the Lord of the Flies is just a pig on the stick, and the Lord of the Flies also symbolizes sin. It's just like, it's like a progressed version of the beast, because the beast transforms, like the beast goes from being a snake, or first they're afraid of snakes, they call it a beastie, then they're afraid of the beast, and it's actually a soldier, it's a dead soldier in the trees, and then they're well, they're not afraid of the Lord of the Flies, but Simon sees the pig on the stick as Lord of the Flies. So, and the Lord of the Flies is like, this is the reason why I'm the reason why things are no-go, and I'm in all of you. And so if the Lord of the Flies is a pig on a stick, and the Lord of the Flies equals sin, then why was a pig used for that representation? Sure, it's gory, but the author is clearly a very detailed writer, just from the way he spends so much time describing the island. I feel like he wouldn't just add things for a shock factor. It's an allegory. So if you start to wonder why it's specifically a pig, then maybe the pig in of itself is a negative image, but when it's been transformed into something that is in humans, it's just a more progressive version of it, because the pigs that are alive don't start saying I'm in everyone and I'm the reason why things are no-go, because that's a different version of the pig. It's an alive version. And so if we want to really get deep and start thinking about every symbol, then that seems to suggest that pigs are also a bit fishy in of themselves. I keep like learning new things and like seeing new new things over these months I've been taking to edit this. And I feel like something that's interesting to add, I found this when I was looking up, let's not look at my laundry. I found, it's on my chair. I found this when I was looking at pictures like of pigs. I was like, I don't know, I was just curious, like, what does the Bible say about pigs? And what's interesting is that someone, I literally just looked it up, but now I don't remember who, told Moses, I think, not to eat pigs because they're like unclean, which is a no-brainer, but it's interesting that literally like the Bible is saying it. And then at some point, like Jesus, I don't know, maybe when he's performing his miracles, literally like cast demons out of someone or like away from something into pigs. So food for thought, I guess, because I don't have anything from the Lord of the Flies to tie into this. Not because I like looked and couldn't find anything, but because I'm no longer like analyzing the book. I mean, because first of all, it's clear they're a negative. They're a negative symbol because it stopped filming. I don't know why. Like there was literally no reason. I said a lot of things. Well, it only stopped filming for 4 minutes, but I basically tied everything up. But yeah, basically, a clear hunting is considered negative. It's the reason why they don't see the ship passing. Jack doesn't want to build huts. Yeah, that's really it. It's just the reason why Jack doesn't want to do anything relating to survival, non-harmful behavior. And so at the least you can say that hunting is bad. And if the Lord of the Flies is a pig on a stick, then why? Like, if it's an allegory and everything is a symbol and you want to dissect it, then it's interesting to think about. Because if the Lord of the Flies is sin, then doesn't that suggest that pig is a different version of that, an alive one? And what's bad to chase? What's bad to act on the desire for? Well, I mean, I guess like lust and greed and gluttony. I mean, Beelzebub, who's connected to Lord of the Flies, is like king of gluttony or something. Pigs obviously like are considered to be a gluttonous symbol, but yeah, that can all be summed up though by the word temptation, desire, or what is tempting them, basically lust or something. I forget what else I said. I don't know. I'm sure when I'm editing, I'll remember because I'll actually see like the 8 minutes leading up to what I said and realize my train of thought. Hopefully it doesn't stop filming. It's actually making me like really annoyed because I have to keep refilming. Me editing again. I found actually a Google Doc I made, obviously like really summed up. Yeah. Oh, that's my friend's art, by the way. I'll link it in the description. But anyways, I basically like the video I'm missing is just me talking about how Jack is the spreader of sin. I mean, granted, it is probably literally like an hour long, but all of these videos, including like the pig thing, or not all of these videos, this video proves the symbols involving me talking about how Jack is the spreader of sin. So I think like after I just finish talking about symbol, I'm just gonna hop on here and real quick like sum up why I'm bringing it up, I guess. So the main thing for proving like how Jack is the spreader of sin, is that he wants people to hunt right, and then I just proved that pigs are temptation. He didn't invent pigs, or hunger, but he wants people to act on temptation really bad, I guess. Also weird that like they want to hang around him like so bad. I think I covered this when I was talking about the pigs, but yeah, it really like if you believe my point, which I don't know where I prove it. I guess I just keep talking about it, but if you believe my point like that the kids in the book are acting on subconscious things, then there's a reason why they want to hunt so bad and why they want to do that under Jack's authority, like not just hunt, but under his authority. And if Jack is the ultimate like sinful figure, that once again seems to suggest how much deep down they love sin. I probably talked about this when I was filming the video 6 months ago, but so I really view the book as being about how war is not because of communism. I mean, no comment on communism, but not about communism, not because of bad government figures, none of that. It's just because of sin. And I really view the book as seeing like hunting pigs as the same as hunting each other, right? Because they do the same things, like they do the same dance for hunting Simon that's reserved for pigs, right? They even try to say themselves, oh, we thought he was a pig. I talked about the soldier. They put a pig's head on a stick and then they want to do the same to Ralph. Like, there's lots of instances where they're treating pigs the way they're treating people in the action of hunting. So when they're killing people and they're killing pigs, it's both hunting for them. And in the end, the soldier calls their murder thing going on a war. And if them hunting each other's war, but then the war is the same as hunting pigs, but acting on pigs is temptation, all of it is just acting on temptation. Which, since it's very clear that if the soldier was like, you're having a war, they're, it's just clear that their actions at the end is supposed to symbolize war. So that seems to suggest that the author, once again, sees war as being because of sin and another form of acting temptation on temptation. Except for when they were hunting pigs, it was like, okay, like, I mean, Ralph was like mad about it, maybe Peggy. It's only like in the way that they do it that's like scary. It's only in the way that Jack is obsessed that's scary. Like when you first see them talking about hunting pigs, like I feel like you're not really shocked. And I feel like it's the same way for war. Like I feel like the author is talking about how like when we see certain war, like if America's in the Middle East, it's like heroic, but then if a country is overthrowing their government, it's ratchet and weird and uncivilized. So I feel like that's what the author is commenting on. If we regard them as following Jack because deep down they love acting on temptation, like technically they're going to act on temptation whether Jack is there or not. Like, sure, these people like Jack have power, but they literally gave it to them. Like, technically there were so many of those children, like if they didn't follow him when he stormed off and threw that fit, like what is he gonna do? Like fight like 20 other people with like 1 against 20? No. They gave him the power on purpose. I don't remember like my original point I was originally gonna go into, but that's where the pig symbol shows up in what I was talking about, like with Jack. I probably went into a lot more detail in the video, but this was months ago and I don't have my notes, or probably in my like notes app, but I rarely like rewrote them in like sections and stuff, and I'm just not gonna do all that. So okay, so yeah, I was basically just tying up the loose ends. Jack is encouraging hunting, bringing up the idea of hunting. Remember, this book is about how they deep down, they want to hunt right, or else they just wouldn't follow Jack, wouldn't be open to trying it like Piggy, who never hunts. So they do have this desire inside of them, but civilization and order and religion is suppressing it. Jack is bringing it out again, bringing it to light, basically bringing it to the focus, this sinful behavior, and therefore that reinforces that he's a symbol that spreads sin. My next symbol I'm going to talk about is how the beast symbolizes the sin that's in all of us. I have a lot to say about Ralph later. I have like a whole page on him. I don't know if you saw that. So again, kind of like I've been saying, the main proof is that he says himself that he's the reason why things are no-go, and he's inside of everyone. So what's inside of everyone that makes them want to act that way? Violent. Sin. And then the beast as beastie is a literal snake, which in the tree, which if you think about the Bible and the Garden of Eden, Eve was tempted by the snake to eat an apple. Snakes inherently have negative associations. I mean, in this biblical situation, the snake is a figure that wants people to sin, and is associated with sin, and is evil. I can't see like what page it says that passage is on, but I'm gonna read it and then read the proof I have for why he's the sin in everyone and not just sin. Even the beast says, I'm the beast. And Simon, who, as I said in the other videos, can be regarded that what he says is intelligent. Kind of like Piggy. With Piggy, we can assume that what he says is what the author believes because he symbolizes intelligence. And with Simon, we can assume that what he believes is the right and Christian way of life. And that he knows something because he's a middle one. And what the proof kind of is just with his premonitions and him guessing things right. But he says pig's head on a stick. If the author was meticulous, then there's a reason why right after the beast says, I'm the beast, Simon is pointing out that the beast is a pig's head on a stick. Seems to suggest that the pig is negative. Goes, you knew, didn't you? I'm part of you. Close, close, close. I'm the reason why it's no-go. Why things are what they are. And when talking about Simon going back to the others, he even says, you only know you'll meet me. Or wait, you know perfectly well you'll only meet me down there. In the people down there. I just realized this is actually a really good passage for proving that sin is controlling their behavior, because the beast is like, if you stop them from having fun, we'll do you, all of them, meaning killed him, and then they kill him. So seems to suggest that it was the beast's choice, it was sin's choice, not necessarily their choice. But anyways, yeah, just him saying, I'm part of you, and the reason why it's no-go, as I said before, what is in everyone, but it's the reason why, but also causes bad behavior, sin, and the reason why it's beast, why it's in everyone, and also the reason why war is because of sin, according to the author. I mean, it's because he said it himself, I'm in everyone, but also because the beast as the soldier is first of all a soldier. If the beast symbolizes sin, but sin is really just a soldier, seems to suggest that being a soldier is sinful, according to the author. And Simon, who I'll explain why in a second, but who can be regarded as knowing things, describes the soldier as heroic, but also sick with sin. And that's why war is because of sin. The sin in everyone. I guess that doesn't really prove why sin isn't everyone, according to the author, but I did prove it. And this kind of ties into me explaining Jack being the spreading of sin, because he never cares about the beast. He doesn't believe in the sin in everyone, the beast. Then even if he if he does mention the beast, besides just when he's discounting it, he'll either be like, well, just don't be afraid. I mean, towards the end, there's a part where he's like, let's just forget about the beast. Or he's using it as an excuse as to why they should be violent. This in my Jack video, but obviously it's gone. But I was basically talking about how, like, something just fell. About getting electrocuted. Sinister vibes. Don't know why I said that, but oh yeah. This is like when Jack is like over the scar on like the mountaintop, I believe. And he convinces them that they need to guard it because of the beast. He spends like some energy, I guess, being like, we need to guard it because of the beast. Like, I forget specifically what he says. I have the book, but I just don't feel like looking. But yeah, he convinces them that they need to guard the mountaintop for the beast, even though it's obviously because he wants to like really exclude Ralph and Piggy. He does that, but then all of a sudden, like as I was talking about, he's like, let's just forget about the beast. like 5 minutes ago, he wasn't just pretending to essentially be afraid of the beast and feel like they need to guard against the beast. I think someone's like, what about the beast? And he's like, let's just not think about the beast. Like, as in, let's not do anything about the beast, I believe. And so, again, that's kind of like showing how Jack, the symbol of authority, is using this fear of the beast, this fear of sin, to manipulate his people into fighting certain other figures. So, for example, in war, like, let's take 9/11. This is essentially a very political reading, even though I advertised it as not being one, so my bad. But yeah, so with 9/11, like, we're taking this fear of violence because a handful of people who happen to be Islamic committed terrorism, even though there's terrorism in every religion. But no, we're going to use this fear of violence to attack Islamics. But then if you look at any other instance of violence, like, but then, okay, so it's like the same group of people that will be like, go back to your country. Sorry, I don't know why I laugh. Anyway, so the same group of people who will be like, Muslims are bad, will not have a problem with treason. Or the same group of people that will be like afraid of Islamics because the religion is oppressive and that's how they get them to be terrorists, will be like, yeah, women should cover their shoulders. Women should do this, women should do that. And in fact, it's actually okay to commit colonialism. I'm actually proud Christopher Columbus came here and like raped and murdered all these like Native Americans. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just like, to me, it's a very clear symbol of how certain figures will use fear of sin when in reality they don't actually care about violence, right? They don't care. They're just acting like they do to get some kind of internal like prejudice done against something that feels like a threat, while totally ignoring the larger threat of general violence in general, or like in Ralph's case, I guess, like, yeah, I mean, I guess death, because, right, if they can't hunt, and Jack really thinks they need to hunt to live, because they need Pig to be sustained when it comes to calories. You know, like, they could die of starvation, but they could also die of the beast, but Jack doesn't care about the beast. He's pretending he does. He's pretending he cares about death, when in reality, he just wants to enact violence. Okay. That's what I said in the video, which ties into what I was saying in my first video, but I'm going to stop repeating myself. So you should watch it if you want to really, like, have me go in depth into what I'm saying. That I'm not going to depth in. Oh yeah, Jack kind of just lets the beast be. I mean, Ralph tries to tackle the beast. Piggy shows worry about the beast. Jack is really the only one who, I mean, I'm sure like maybe some of the characters that aren't really main characters may not care about the beast, but like Roger, but we don't know. But he is the only authority, someone who actually has power to influence that just disregards the beast. The next thing I'm proving is that Piggy is intellect, which, you know, you probably paid it, or did you? You probably know this from high school, but there's a lot of things to be said about Piggy being intellect. Just the fact that Piggy's glasses are used to start the fire, that was deliberate. Because technically, if you think about it, the author could have just had them use survival skills and rub sticks together. Piggy could have not had glasses. They could have broken as when he crashed. The author is, I get the feeling that the author is pretty meticulous, just from the way the author writes. The book really is like pretty, but yeah, so clearly the glasses are used to make things easier, and that's kind of what technology is. And what are glasses associated with Piggy was technology associated with intelligence. This scenario also proves that they hate intellect and not everything Piggy is associated with. And therefore that they hate Piggy because the book is supposed to show how to be violent is to hate intellect. And this is because they hate Piggy's asthma. They make fun of his asthma. They make fun of his fat. But they don't ever make fun of his glasses. That is a nerdy thing, especially in the time the book was written. Glasses, like, I mean, nowadays they're just considered like slightly unattractive to a lot of people. A lot of glasses wearers, they would prefer to wear contacts because they consider glasses slightly unattractive. But back then it was a lot worse. So me editing again, ignore my like chair that I put like all my laundry and pillows and stuff on. But like again, like I wouldn't say I'm giving the strongest arguments for Piggy being intelligent, but it is weird that they don't hate or intelligence. But it is weird that they don't hate on his glasses, because it's not like any of them wear glasses, so it's not like they be being hypocritical. Um, it's not like maybe they're best friends with someone who wears glasses, so they don't want to like be rude. I'm sure they know someone who's fat too. And what else was I gonna say? I don't know, but it does seem kind of deliberate and bizarre that like they don't make fun of his glasses. I was gonna add like, cause like I said, in that time, glasses were like extremely dorky. Like it would make sense for them to bully him over glasses. Like I know like nowadays you'll still get called Four Eyes if you're like 8, and the person calling you Four Eyes is also like 8, but it was worse then, is my point. So it seems deliberate. I want to like emphasize that. It's clear that they don't hate everything associated with Piggy. They may hate his fat and his resistance to being mixed with labor, but they don't hate what he can do for them, such as start fires. Um, they don't hate what intelligence can do for them, but they do hate reason. If they just hated Piggy, they would just hate on everything associated with him. Not to mention, by the end of the book, I'm sure he's not skinny, but average weight. You lose, the more you weigh, the faster you lose weight, and I'd imagine that just eating, like, even if he eats 5 fruits, I don't know what the fruits ever ended up being, maybe like pears or something. Even if he eats 5 fruits and then he eats like pig once a week, he would be shedding pounds. So I'd imagine he's not even like fat by the end of the book, and yet they're still hating on him. So it kind of goes to show that they just hate Piggy as a whole. And maybe they'd even hate him if he looked like everyone else. Another thing that seems to prove that when they're violent against Piggy, it's because they're revolting against intelligence. It's just that whenever Piggy is hit, he's hit in the head. Even when he's killed, his head specifically like splatters and like breaks open. You don't see a description of how his arm broke and is twisted in a direction it shouldn't be. Whenever Jack hits him, it's in the head. It's very clear that they're subconsciously going for his brain, and they're subconsciously what's in the brain, intelligence. So that's what that seems to symbolize. Another thing that proves that Piggy is regarded as one of the good figures is that the longer everyone's hair gets, the more unruly they act. And yeah, you can say obviously their hair is gonna get longer anyways, but Piggy's hair doesn't. It stays bald. Like, he has like a few hairs, but he's almost completely bald throughout the whole entire book. And you know, you can see the symbol of long hair being negative because Ralph, whenever Jack is trying to think rationally, he pulls his hair out of his eyes, and when it falls back into his eyes, like, he'll do something irrational, or the weight of the hair is like too much. I think when Simon like is unconscious, it's talking about how much his hair seems to weigh. The hair is subtly negative, but Piggy doesn't have any of it. I mean, it's not like he's balding. He's like, I mean, I guess technically he is naturally bald, but it's not like it's normal for a 12-year-old to be balding. So it seems deliberate that he has no hair. And if he's the only one that always acts the most intelligent they can act, because even the middle ones aren't great. And he has no hair. Well, first of all, that in of itself kind of proves he's intelligent, but it also seems to prove that not having hair was deliberate. Also, Piggy is the first one to act afraid of people. On page 82, okay, so I think this is even before Simon says anything or thinks anything about being afraid of people. Or wait, okay, I didn't write the page down for this apparently, but there's a part where he's, you know, the authorities are mad at them for this fear of the beast, and they're like, this is irrational, and kind of like lightheartedly, or not intentionally, really, like, not intentionally to say, it doesn't seem he consciously thinks people are afraid of people, but he's like, there's nothing to be afraid of. Like, he's coming to this realization that there's literally nothing to be afraid of. They must be afraid of something else and blaming it on the beast. And he's like, unless we get afraid of people. And everyone laughs nervously. If it was really just a joke to them, they just would have laughed, not nervously. Um, so that in of itself seemed to show that he had come to a really good conclusion that no one had said so far. And then I'm pretty sure he's the first one to act afraid of people too, which is also, it's smart that he came to that conclusion before anyone else, because they killed him, and they tried to kill Ralph, and they killed Simon. And then yeah, Piggy finds the conch. Just like intelligence is how we became so orderful. Even within tribes, there's some kind of order and sharing and stuff. It's pretty obvious how Piggy is connected to Ralph being the spreader of sin. Piggy, Piggy's not suicidal. Not Ralph. Jack. Jack literally kills Piggy, and so I don't know if I talked about this, but basically at one point Piggy is like, and if we can regard everything Piggy says as true because it's the smart thing to say, um, anyways, at one point, he's like, Jack hates your guts. And this is before we're aware that Jack hates Ralph. Like, because in the beginning, they're kind of, or at least it's before Ralph is aware Jack hates Ralph. Because in the beginning, they're kind of buddy buddy. I mean, you can assume that Jack is jealous, right? But we don't see like hatred, like the kind of hatred he displays at the end. But Piggy, is like, Jack hates your guts, but he can't openly. Essentially, he says like something like he can't get to you, but essentially what he means is he can't openly hate you yet. So he's gonna do the next best thing and hate me. This had nothing to do with this had nothing to do with Jack's symbol, or did it? Oh yeah, it does. Because I was gonna say, Jack, oh yeah, Jack hates any symbol of attempting to constrict sin, oppose sin, because Ralph is your average politician, which I think I haven't proved yet in this video or the last video, but I do end up proving it. And your average politician, like, we know that the philosophy behind politics is contradictory, because the idea is that humans won't run around butt naked because another human is stopping them from doing it. Because humans are instinctively are violent, but political figures will stop us from being violent. Um, and if violence can be seen as sin, then Ralph is stopping sin, and um, Jack does not like that. Um, I mean, essentially, there's a reason why they pick Ralph. I mean, he kind of just has good vibes, essentially. Um, and so I'm assuming Jack kind of picked up on the kind of guy Ralph is, and doesn't like it. But like that's like me openly hating like Gandhi. Like for well, we can openly hate him for being sexist and racist, but we can't openly hate him for being a pacifist and hating colonism. Like that's essentially the same thing. Like imagine if I was like, I hate that Martin Luther King Jr. wanted equal rights for black people. Like, like you can say that, but then everyone knows you're racist. So that's like essentially what's happening with Jack. Um, so he's like, I can't openly do that, so I'm gonna hate on the next best thing. It's like, for example, when it's clear like people will only hate certain things. Like, okay, so for example, with I see a lot of people complain like when people want to make fun of women, they put white women in front of it so that people that they can get away with it because it's like, oh, in people's inner brains, it's like, oh, we're hating on like, um, we're hating on privileged people who aren't aware of their privilege. When in reality, they're literally just hating on women. It's like that. It's like Jack's way of expressing hatred for not being sinful without expressing it, right? Because it's not okay to hate on the figure stopping sin, but it's okay to hate on the brain behind it because no one consciously sees that it's the brain behind it. I just spent 5 minutes talking. I did not mean to do that. That's my bad. Other things about technology that's interesting is that Piggy is like legally blind. Like, he can barely even walk towards the end when his glasses are gone. Um, he's like pretty helpless without them. The glasses are how he can interact with the physical, right? Because if he can't see anything, he can't interact with it. He can't properly do anything. And how does intellect leak into the physical world? You can have knowledge and you can know things, but that's not physical. I can know 1 plus 1 equals 2, but unless I create something to symbolize 1 and another 1, then it's just in my head. And so innovation and technology is how intellect interacts with the world, and glasses is how Piggy interacts with the world. And then this one is interesting. The older kids are authority. I believe we're taught that Ralph is a political figure, but we're supposed to regard Ralph as holier than thou. I'll probably get into that in the next video, and not this one. I'm gonna get into it, but probably in the next video. But Ralph is not holier than thou, or else he wouldn't interact with the pig, which is a negative symbol. But anyways, we are taught that he's an authority, I believe. The middle ones are the middle ground between authority and complete helplessness, like the young'un. Or, I guess that's not proving anything. I guess that's just like an interesting thing to start talking about. You can see that the older kids are authority because all of the old kids, all the older kids have authority. Ralph makes rules. Jack gives orders. Piggy gives counsels and ideas. Sam and Eric towards the end are described as big ones, and they guard. Peggy thinking of ideas such as huts in a fire is causing them to make it. Jack giving orders, causing them to follow them, or I mean, like, technically none of them, like, are forcing anyone to do anything but Roger, but they're still putting things out there that ends up feeling like, or that they end up doing. They actually have a say in things, unlike the young ones who don't end up having a say in anything or any really important positions. You know, being chief is important. Literally being the intelligence by everything is an important position where you get a say in everything, etc. The young ones don't have that, since they're in important, powerful positions where they have the ability to cause change. They symbolize authority. Methinks Jack being a big one proves that he has a type of authority and therefore ability to influence, and what he's influencing them to do is negative things, proves he's a spreader of sin. Simon is, the last symbol that I'm going to talk about in this video is that Simon is a Jesus figure, and it's really interesting. Methinks, if I can find it. This part that shows he's kind of a Jesus figure, I can't read this, handwriting for the page number, but I'll look it up. It's just him fainting all the time and then just waking up like he's fine. That in and of itself is the kind of resurrection. I mean, no one else faints in Jack's group. You never see anyone else fainting ever in any situation. It's not like he just has fainted 2 times in his life and they were all on the island. Jack says that he's always throwing a feint and has before. Oh, and more proof that they are basically deciding who has authority based off of vibes is Piggy literally shrinking at the sound of Ralph's voice. That seems to suggest that his presence makes Piggy, in of itself, makes Piggy feel like he has authority. And it specifically says that the sound of his voice makes him shrink, not him being bossy. That's it. Just him throwing a feint is a resurrection in of itself. And in the beginning, they kind of dodged talking about a lot of things. There's a point where they stop talking about, they don't want to talk about Smoke for a bit. Only Simon wants to, and I'll prove this later in the next video, I believe, or maybe the one after that, but it'll be labeled. You'll see it in the playlist, but Smoke equals salvation. He's the only one who the whole time is interested. He's the only one who's interested in salvation, even when others are not, and that does sound very biblical. And another thing that's really weird that actually someone on YouTube pointed out was that Simon is walking towards his little hidden place, and he sees a mini hut, a sandcastle in the sand, and he frowns to himself. And it doesn't say why, because the author likes to make us kind of, he likes to first of all show what people are thinking, and then you just end up having to guess because it's not super clear. And it's like, why? Why is he frowning? What about him? What about seeing that sandcastle is bringing up negative feelings? I mean, the young uns symbolize civilians, and I'll get into that in the next video, but, or not the next one, the video after, I believe. And they're building sandcastles, and I think it literally says that they look like huts. And that seems to be a symbol of civilians building up houses for civilization. And so it makes me wonder if he's frowning because he hates them settling on the island. Because when you build a hut, that seems to suggest that you're at least going to be there overnight, and he wants them to be saved. I mean, which you might be like, well, duh, but Ralph doesn't want to be saved. Jack probably doesn't want to be saved. The little ones are kind of like oblivious and not really thinking that far. So Simon's the only one that, one of the only ones that seems to want to be saved, salvaged, or reach salvation throughout the book. And who's that? Even when everyone else is sinful, a Christ-like figure. And Simon's eyes are described as bright, gay, and wicked, which bright and gay suggests like happy, positive things, but wicked, even if you're thinking of someone who's like sneering because they've just done something bad, it still has a negative connotation. And so I'm just wondering why his eyes are described as happy, positive, full of light, but also wicked. And the only thing I could think of that relates to being the Jesus figure is that obviously premonition at first was considered to be going against God. I mean, that's why they burned Joan of Arc at a stake, I believe. So maybe that's why he's wicked. in his place he goes to, he really likes it, obviously, and it's described really positively. There's like light coming through, there's butterflies. It's a happy place for him. And when he's going to it, he kind of looks back for a second in the same way Jack did when he was hunting. And we later find out that Jack probably did it because he feels hunted when he's on the island, or at least in that part. Well, I didn't write down the right page. But, yeah. Seems to suggest, literally speaking, he doesn't want kids in his place, his happy place. Symbolically speaking, he doesn't want civilians in his happy place. Why does he not want civilians in a place that symbolizes such positivity? Seems to suggest that the civilians are going to disturb his peace, ruin it. Symbolically speaking, why would civilians ruin the place and disturb the peace of it? I mean, literally, it's because they're loud, but symbolically speaking, doesn't it seem to suggest that they're negative? I mean, or have sin in them? This isn't necessarily proving that Simon's a Jesus figure, but it is related to Simon, so probably why I put it there. Another thing that kind of proves he's at least not like other boys is that he's okay going over the scar in the night. And the scar symbolizes human infestation. Taught that in high school. I mean, just the fact that the plane crashing on the island left the scar, and humans coming to the island leaves the scar, shows that it's some kind of symbol of human change, humans changing something. And in this case, they've changed it negatively. They immediately get on there and start a fire and burn a lot of the forest. But he's okay going over the scar, and over the mountain, nothing good happens over there. Jack hunts over there. He even says the conch doesn't count over there, and the conch is like positive behavior, the suppression of sin. What else? People die over there. Nothing good happens over the scar. Like, if something good is happening, it's them eating pig, and the pig has negative connotations. But he's okay going over there. He's okay going into human infestation at night, and everyone's scared of the night. And who is totally comfortable with embracing sin without letting it get to him? Jesus. I mean, again, like, the biggest proof is that the author himself said that Simon is a Christ figure. But that's another interesting thing to think about. Some other things that prove he's a Christ figure is that he's very premonition. On one page, Ralph is worrying, and Simon is like, "You're gonna make it out fine." And Ralph even believes it himself. He later talks about, like, Simon saying that bringing comfort to him, and him not being sure why, because they subconsciously know these things. They subconsciously know Simon is a Christ figure, that their people are full of sin. They subconsciously know things, but consciously Ralph doesn't know why. But it turns out to be true. Simon, before he even finds out that what they think is a beast is just a dead soldier in a parachute, describes it as heroic and sick when he's just thinking about it. And what would be heroic about a beast? I mean, I guess literally he was probably thinking, like, beasts are heroic, but that sounds like a description of a soldier who is suffering. Simon also I just realized Simon never believes in the beast, and not in the way where he's like, "Shut up about being afraid of the beast. You're annoying me by that." Just in the sense that he doesn't believe. he knows there's a reason to be afraid, especially when the Lord of the Flies talks to him. But he doesn't think it's because of something that's not real, like an actual beast. Um, when he talks about not believing in the beast, it's calm, and I mean it's too late to go back and see now, but I would assume that's not in the same connotation as Jack, that he's more not believing in the fear and believing afraid of an animal instead of humans. Another interesting note is that Piggy also talks about how the fear of the beast isn't real. On page like 84, he he's like, everyone's like annoyed that the kids, like the littler kids, are afraid of the beast. And Jack has just gotten done yelling at them. And Piggy's like, he's going on his spiel. He's like, life is scientific. The beast isn't real. There's no like animal that we haven't discovered that's like on this island. And he's like, this isn't real. But I also don't just mean that a beast with claws and like horns isn't real. I also mean this fear isn't real, as in fear of the beast. Because then a few seconds later, he's like, this fear isn't real unless another add-on. Not fear of the beast isn't real, as in just like fear of the animal. I mean, the literal fear of an animal isn't real. Subconsciously, they're not afraid of an actual animal. But also, this fear of, I mean, this fear of the sin inside of us isn't necessarily as real as we think. I mean, I view the author as seeing the book being about how we kind of use it to demonize certain groups of people. Um, yeah. And then also like this fear of the physical animal isn't necessarily like real. We get afraid of people. So Piggy, if you can regard everything he says as intelligent, um, then or like what the author views as an intelligent take, then yeah, that seems to go to show that, well, that just adds on to the, it's just an interesting side ramble about another character that's like one of the protagonists, I guess, also like not believing in the beast or fear of the beast. Here, when Jack is mentioning it, it's when they're looking for the beast, they're looking for a physical thing. He's talking about not believing in a physical thing. When Jack mentions it, he's mentioning it in reference to fear of this thing, and he doesn't want people to be afraid of it. Simon just doesn't believe in looking for a physical version of it. But anyways, however Simon thought of the beast, there rose before his inward sight the picture of a human at once heroic and sick. At this point, he hasn't said anything about the beast not being a beast. That literally sounds like a soldier. He knows this, and he hasn't seen the beast. He hasn't gone up to the mountain and looked at it. He doesn't until after the Lord of the Flies shows up. He turned out to be right. Also, just the fact that he has not seen this beast, but for some reason when he thinks of it, he thinks of a human. But then once he actually sees it and sees that as a human, he's like essentially surprised, right? And I think he knows like the beast isn't real, but so the fact that he's not trying to warn them that the beast is them conscious because he doesn't seem to know it consciously, again goes to show that at least one of the characters, ignore my trash can in my movie wall, but at least one of the characters um kind of knows things subconsciously, and more of the characters could be acting based off of subconscious knowings. An inward picture literally sounds like another way of saying premonition. And when Simon's hair is down to his eyes, he does act not great. I mean, he's literally hallucinating and he's weak and he doesn't drink water, but he doesn't start murdering, and I don't even think maybe he hunts, but doesn't start murdering. And even if he doesn't, that seems to even go to show that he's unaffected by mention of hunting. I mean, even Ralph hunts at some point. Even Piggy joins in on the dance at some point. And Piggy ends up getting caught up in this fear of this physical beast. So does Ralph, but Simon never does, even though he is hunted. And even though that's clear that just acting on temptation is pushing this frenzied behavior. And he's unaffected by it. And that seems to suggest he's a holier-than-thou figure. Yeah, even Ralph acts animalistic too. And the beast hates Simon. Why would the beast hate Simon when even Piggy has used rationale and potentially could in the future? What would a sinful figure hate? A holy one. And Simon also died because people were too caught up in sin, right? When they were doing the dance. Jesus died because people were sinning too much. Christ figure. That's like the most exciting one to me because there's so much proof, and Simon is just such an interesting figure, and his premonitions are just really interesting. I'm sure there were more because I only wrote down like the Ralph one and then the Beast one, but I'd imagine there's more. He talks more than that, but so interesting. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's going to be super long. I literally thought it was only going to be 30 minutes. I've been filming for over an hour, so sorry about that. This is why I split it up. This is why I did not include it in the Jack section, but hopefully you can still enjoy it even though it was long and you find this as exciting as I find it. Okay, I'm looking at my notes here. Hopefully after this I can stop inserting myself in the editing process so much. But there's some things I want to sum up. Basically, one being that Jack does not symbolize dictatorship. I mean, since I lost the Jack video, it's like not really emphasized in this series. Why is there like a fur in my nail? But anyways, they quite literally hand him over the power, right? Like, for example, when we see him stalk off after no one originally wants him as chief over Jack, he can't like fight them. He can't force them to want to like, he can't force them to do anything. He doesn't force them to do anything. Like, they start willingly going over to him. Like, it's one person against like 20 other children. I think I said that already, but they quite literally gave him the ability to have so much power. Even after I think he already hit Piggy at one point and he's already a little sketchy. And then also, this isn't about dictatorship because the same way that they hunt pigs is the same way that they hunt Simon and essentially Ralph, right? Like, so at one point they do a dance to hunt a pig, and then at one point they do the dance to hunt Simon. They put a pig's head on the stick. They try to put Ralph's head on the stick. And it's just clear in the book that them hunting pigs escalates to them showing violence against other people, right? Like, at one point, I think it's Roger, but it could be Robert. They start doing like, at several points, they start doing like the pig dance around people, and they're like poking the person or persons in the middle and like kind of scaring them. I think at one point Roger is like kind of scared and shaken up. Um, and they're acting like they're hunting pig while they're hunting a person in that example too. So anyway, it's clear that that it's clear that the book sees hunting pig as the same thing as hunting people in the symbolism, right? It's not literally the same thing, but the kids are acting like the same thing. And if hunting pigs is acting on temptation, and then hunting Ralph or Simon is okay, so basically they're both murder. Um, but one, when we see one, I think I said this too, we're not freaked out, but when we see the other, we're like, oh no, when they do the exact same process. So again, it's not necessarily about how Jack is like, how they followed Jack originally, because they're like, oh, he is gonna give us pig, and then they're like shocked when they start hunting people. Like, they started hunting people, like they didn't actually kill anyone, but they started doing the pig dance around people before he had full authority, and they gave it to him anyways. And obviously, we know that subconsciously they kind of know what's going on. They just don't care. So, yeah, Jack did not force them to do anything.